completed that process. Here we go. All right, now listen, I get nervous when I give the review and give you extra time for the test. You can't just put it on hold. So here we go. Miss Warner. Who were the two front runners for the Democratic nomination for president in 1960? Shh. Go ahead.
Senator John F. Kennedy and Senator Hubert A.
Correct, I would know that. Okay, Miss Russell, tell me the cities in which the great debates took place.
There was 4 of them.
There were.
New York, Washington D.C., and Chicago.
Okay, which of those was the first of the great debates held, Aubrey? Shh,
Hold on.
shh, 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 shh. We're not holding on, we're going.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, the first of the great debates was held where of those cities? Where was the first one? That's one we talked about. What city was that held in?
New York. Washington.
Did you hear, Glenn, the Cubs are kind of on a roll now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing pretty well in baseball. They might make the playoffs. Yes?
Will you do me a big favor and repeat the 4?
No.
It's just New York, Washington, D.C. and Chicago.
That's why we got to be listening and paying attention. See, thanks, Haley, for doing that, because Pure and I planned
Chicago.
that beforehand. Yeah, Chicago was where the first one was. Right. Okay, Ms. Schneider, tell me the television situation in America in 1950 compared to 1960. Or you could do it 1960 compared to 1950. What was the television situation in America? What was the situation with television in America comparing 1950 to 1960? I'm not letting you off the hook.
I really don't think I wrote it down.
Well, see, that's a problem.
Yeah.
What would you guys do if I just gave you this test Monday?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
well,
would.
this is an honors course. Can you,
Our system.
Huh?
Why did, yeah, we have a system, it's fine.
if you do not have this in your notes, you are not taking very good notes, so check your notes. Ms. Klinghagen, give it to me.
Okay, so what happened was in 1950, not many people had television, but in 1960, a lot of people had television so they could watch the debate.
Correct, all I need now is the number. Okay, shh, Mary.
In 1950, there were 4 million, and in 1960, there were 44 million.
Correct. So by 1960, 44 million Americans enjoyed the luxury of TV compared to that of 1950, which was 4 million. I'll bet you have that in your notes if you dig. The significance of that is this. Quiet. The significance of that is this. Television became a huge issue for the first time in a presidential debate. Why? Because 40 million more people had televisions in their home in 1960 than that of 1950. Okay, Glenn, my man, during the campaign of 1960, Kennedy accused Nixon of giving lip service to 3 areas. Tell me what those were.
Increasing the minimum wage, expanding school construction, and providing medical care for the elderly.
Perfect. Yep. Repeat that again so they can get it.
Increasing minimum wage, expanding school construction, and providing medical care for the elderly.
Perfect. Okay, Ms. Fulfer. During those debates, Nixon really accused Kennedy of only one thing because he had no record for Kennedy, but what did he accuse him of?
Of being a spendthrift
At the expense
of the taxpayer.
of the taxpayers. Okay? Being a spendthrift at the expense of the taxpayers. Very good. Okay, Hannah Johnston. Tell me a little bit about the 1960 primary election, Democratic election in West Virginia as far as how the vote went. How did the vote go percentage-wise in the West Virginia primary, Democratic primary in which Kennedy ran against Humphrey? How'd the vote go percentage-wise? Remember, Kennedy didn't get the knockout punch in Wisconsin like he wanted, and he was fighting a battle in West Virginia, but he won by, what were the percentages for him?
So he won by like 17?
15%?
No, you're looking at the election. I'm talking about the primary election in West Virginia. It was big because 95% of the people there were Protestant, remember?
Oh, you're going down.
Okay, well, I'm just going as the flow. So what was the result of that election from a percentage perspective? There you go, say it.
16?
Okay.
16?
60% for who?
Kennedy.
And that would leave 40% for, very good, okay, we got there.
Whoa.
Okay,
Didn't
Humphrey resign after that?
he did, yep, he didn't resign, he just, you don't resign, he said, I'm no longer a candidate.
Drop out of the race.
Now, true or false? Even though he said he was no longer a candidate to run for the Democratic nomination for president, could he have been nominated at the convention? Yes, he could have. Very good. Okay. All right. Ms. Klingler, there were 5 Democratic hopefuls who the party considered nominating for president in 1960. Give me one, and give me one, include their first and last name, the political position they held, and what state they represented.
Right, these ones?
Well, it could be just one.
Oh, yeah, I think it's good.
Okay.
Senator Lyndon B. Johnson of Texas.
Very good. Senator Lyndon B. Johnson, Texas. Ashton, give me another one of those Democratic hopefuls. Full name, political position, and state represented.
Stuart Simonton.
And he was, what was his political position? Keeping in mind that 4 of the 5 held the same position.
He was a senator.
From where?
Missouri.
Missouri. Very good. Okay. How about another one, Brianna?
Senator Hubert H. Humphrey, Minnesota.
Okay. And Emily, another one?
Adlai Stevenson and, I think he was right. Yeah.
Okay. This is one you got to think on. That's it. So you're right. Adlai Stevenson. What was his political position at the time?
He wasn't a senator.
No, he was a 2-time loser of presidential elections. And I'll just tell you, right now, he was from Illinois. Okay, so if I didn't tell you that, we'll write it down. So when you talk about Adlai Stevenson, you really just put Adlai Stevenson will be fine for me, but know that he was a 2-time loser of the presidential elections, 52 and 56, and he was from Illinois. But if you just put Adlai Stevenson, I'll take that Monday, because he really didn't hold a political position other than he was a 2-time loser. Yes? Okay. All right, and who's the one we forgot? They left the best for last and the easiest, too.
Senator John F. Kennedy from Massachusetts.
Senator John F. Kennedy from Massachusetts. So you'll need to know all 5 of those hopefuls. You'll need to know their first and last name for sure, and spelling. Make sure you have their name spelled correctly. First and last name. Their political position, the state they represented. I will just take Adlai Stevenson without any of that other information, okay? But know how to spell their name, because I don't think you'd like that wrong on your diploma. Yes?
And Simonton, S.Y.
It should be on your ID sheet.
Oh,
It is, yeah, but it should be on your ID sheet, yeah. Okay, let's see, we're moving on back there to Levi, my main man. Give me one major issue that Senator Kennedy had to overcome during the primary election for the Democratic nomination in 1960. Suppose one issue he had to overcome. In the name of the Father and the Son.
Wow, he's Roman Catholic.
He was Roman Catholic. Jewel, what was the other thing he had to overcome? His age. Or you could put just his age, but don't just put his experience. Put his age, or put his age and experience. But don't just put experience. Because according to him, if you were paying attention to the video, or if you got online and watched it, if you missed, one thing Kennedy stated is that he had just as much political experience as Nixon did. Now, the age was different, okay? Okay, Jacob, give me one goal that Richard Nixon tried to accomplish when he met with Nelson Rockefeller during the campaign for the Republican nomination in 1960.
Compromise on the Republican Party platform.
Perfect. Compromise on the Republican Party platform. And Emma, tell me his other goal.
To have him as VP.
Okay, now I'm going to make a point here. You can't write on that on your test to have him as VP. You're going to have to write to have who?
Rockefeller.
Nixon wanted to get Rockefeller to be his vice presidential running mate. Now, if you put VP, that's okay, but make sure you mention Rockefeller.
Could you just have Rockefeller as his running mate?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, now, Miss Taylor, of those two goals, which, if any, or all, did he accomplish?
He accomplished the compromise on the Republican Party platform.
Very good. He did not talk him into running with him as vice president. Very good. Okay, Alex, give me one reason why historians believe John Kennedy gained more from the great debates than Richard Nixon.
Because he dressed in a dark suit and Nixon was
Okay, against a,
against the light background, the gray
Okay.
background.
and?
And Nixon wore gray against the gray background, so he did stand out.
Very good. Now listen, this is so you get this right. That isn't two different things. That's one thing. So to get that right, you would have to say Nixon wore a dark suit against a gray background while, or excuse me, Kennedy wore a dark suit against a gray background while Nixon wore a gray suit against a gray background. That would be one. Yes.
What about the makeup?
Okay. Another one? Carmen?
Nixon was sick at the time.
Okay, he was suffering from a staph infection, and so he looked
He was sickly.
or Ryder. Pale Ryder, okay?
Okay.
You see, you should be able to remember that tomorrow now. Okay, second one is Nixon was sickly and he looked pale. Okay, Callie, give me another one.
Did I already say that?
Say it again, because maybe they want
Makeup. Kennedy
Yeah.
wore makeup, or is everybody else?
Well, not everybody else.
Nixon.
Okay, Kennedy chose to wear makeup where Nixon refused. Good. How about another one, Ms. Schneider? There's two more. Maybe I'm worried about you.
I'm worried about myself.
Two more. If you don't get this, I'm going to make you answer the last five.
Oh, but I'm not gonna get this, and I don't know the answer to
Isn't there
that.
three more?
There's two hundred percent.
Yeah, there's three more.
There's six, right?
Yeah.
Very good.
You didn't watch the lecture.
I wasn't here on this.
Really? And what happened after that you weren't here on Wednesday? Let's make another educational academic point here.
You didn't tell me to watch the video.
Okay, Emily, give me another one.
Kennedy handled the questions expertly.
Which undercut the criticism of his age. Very good. Okay, Kennedy answered the questions very well, or however you want to word that, which undercut the criticism of his age. Okay, Aaron, sitting over there thinking he'll never call on me for a while again. Give me another one.
He showed a great sense of humor.
Also known as the
Kennedy would.
Kennedy Wit. So I would put on there, he showed a great sense of humor, also known as the Kennedy Wit. And Mary, what's the last one?
Kennedy's charm, poise, and good looks.
Kennedy's charm, poise, and good looks came out into everybody's television. Okay? Yeah, perfect. All right. You'll need to know a few of those. I wouldn't say every one. Okay? All right, if you missed this, Schneider, I'm going to check you out of this class, and you're going to get into another class, I swear to God. If you miss this, you are gone.
Please don't, because I probably won't get it right.
If you don't get this, you are gone. Which state gave Kennedy the 761 delegate votes he needed for nomination on the first ballot?
Wyoming.
Yay! How about a hand for Schneider? She doesn't go home for the class. Okay, perfect. Okay, Miss Keller, I call on you. Miss Johnston, because you are ready to go here.
I'm ready.
Give me one of the interesting scenarios of the campaign of 1960 between Kennedy and Nixon. Kind of an unusual scenario.
Wait, what was the question?
Okay, well, give me one of the interesting scenarios prior to the election of 1960 with Kennedy and Nixon.
So can I say, like, Nixon doesn't utilize President Eisenhower?
No, that wasn't in, that was later. This is early in the election. Two interesting facets. Give me one of the two interesting scenarios or facets prior to the election. Well, there you go. How about you, Warner? Well, read it. First televised campaign. Thank you very much.
So,
Jewel, what was the second scenario that had never happened
Oh, I know
before?
this one.
Klingler.
Nixon promised to go to all 50 states.
Very good. Nixon promised to go all 50 states. So the two interesting scenarios of the campaign of 1960 between Kennedy and Nixon. One, it was the first televised campaign. And two, Richard Nixon made a promise that he would visit all 50 states. Okay, here's one for you, Alex. I know you're gonna fire up here. What is the significance of Henry Cabot Lodge Jr.? Shh, she's on this, I can tell. This man, right here. Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. What is the significance of that man in our lectures? The last two lectures, the last two test materials.
Well, before, he lost to Kennedy for Senator of Massachusetts, and then Nixon chose him as his running mate.
So the answer to the question is Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. lost to lost to Kennedy in 2 elections. Kennedy beat him twice. He beat him for the Senate seat in Massachusetts, and he beat him for the presidency and vice presidency in 1960. So you could put that, what was the significance of Henry Cabot Lodge Jr.? He lost to Kennedy twice in a senatorial and a presidential election. Probably sick of that guy. Okay, Brianna. In the Wisconsin Democratic primary between Kennedy and Humphrey, what was John Kennedy's goal in that election?
He wanted to knock Humphrey out. He wanted to blow him out of the water, kind of just totally destroy him, and that he would stop running.
Very good. He wanted to defeat him by a large margin. He wanted to crush him, win by a big margin, because he knew that if he did, that Humphrey would quit the race. Did that happen, Jacob?
No.
No, actually, he did defeat Humphrey. Did you catch that yesterday on the video? How many districts voted in that Wisconsin primary? Anybody? Very good. And how many did Kennedy win? You had to be paying attention. There, 6. So it was 6-4 in districts, so it was no blowout. Now that seems almost the same. You say, well, that seems like 60-40. Just like, but it's not the same thing, okay? But when he went to West Virginia, which was 95% Protestant, he won by 60% to 40%, which is a big margin. Okay.
Didn't you win 60%? Oh, never mind.
Okay, Taylor Fulper, tell me, in the 1960 Democratic National Convention that was held in Los Angeles, tell me how many delegate votes a candidate needed to secure the nomination for the presidency. How many delegate votes were needed? And that would be on the first ballot, second ballot, third ballot, how many ballots it took, but what was the number of votes that was needed?
I know I have it in here.
I'll bet you do. So we got time. We've got 25 minutes. We've got all kinds of time, Levi. Time is our ally.
Okay, wait, what was the question?
The question is, how many delegate votes did Kennedy need, or any candidate need, to win the nomination for the presidency at the Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles? Okay.
It's not the same as like.
Go ahead. No, not same as electoral. Delegate votes happen in a 761. That's a good question. Delegate votes happen in a national convention. Electoral votes happen in a general election. Okay? Nomination. Okay. All right, Miss Elliott. What was historians' belief? If a couple of things would have happened during that 60 campaign, what may have happened? Okay, I'll try to rephrase it. What are some things that historians believe could have made the difference in Kennedy getting the nomination on the first ballot, or maybe not getting the nomination at all? What do historians think? Anybody write that down? I told you that little snippet.
Oh, I remember it, but I didn't.
Levi, you act like you know it. Go ahead.
If Senator Johnson would have joined the campaign sooner.
Right? Or
something about Adelaide Stevens.
Okay, let me explain that because it's important. These candidates always say, when they ask them, oh, are you going to run for president? Are you going to run for president? Oh, I've not announced that I'm going to be a candidate. You know, they always play that game. Well, the only ones that really stood out that said they were trying to gain the presidency were Humphrey and Kennedy. And Stevenson, he just stood back in the back to see how things were going. He never did commit whether he would be accepting the nomination, hoping that if things went south at the convention, that maybe the people would nominate him without having to make any effort. Does that make sense? Which could have happened, right? You can give your delegate votes to Mickey Mouse at the convention if you want to. But all this primary campaigning is done to kind of get an idea who people really like. It doesn't mean anything. So historians stated that if Lyndon Johnson would have committed earlier to try to gain the nomination, or if Adlai Stevenson would have come out and said, yeah, I'll take the nomination if it's given to me during the convention in Los Angeles, Kennedy probably wouldn't have won on the first ballot, and many historians believe he never would have been elected or nominated if they got a ballot past the first. So the answer is, if Johnson would have thrown his hat in the ring earlier for the nomination, or if Stevenson would have made it more public that he would accept the nomination at convention, Kennedy probably would not have been elected. Okay, we'll go back to you, Carmen. Tell me a little bit about Senator Harry F. Byrd of Virginia as it had to do with this election. Tell me a little bit of what you know about him. He was the independent candidate.
He got the other 15 votes from the electoral vote.
Very good. He got the other 15 electoral votes from Mississippi. What was his philosophy on politics, so to speak? What was his philosophy as we related it to the reading that we read in the quiz we had? What?
No civil rights.
He was not for civil rights. He was one of these guys that wanted to see the black, you know, in bondage and peonage. He was not for civil rights in any way, shape, or form. Okay? So he was one of these old hat Democrats that did not believe that the Negro's place was in society. Okay, very good. But he did win 15 electoral votes in this election, and he did run as an independent, as Carmen said, and he was from Virginia and served as a senator. Okay, Ashton, when John F. Kennedy heard about Martin Luther King Sr.'s philosophy on having a Roman Catholic in the White House, what was the first quote he said? Or what was the first quote that Kennedy said about that?
Martin Luther King having a bigot in his
Very good. Imagine Martin Luther King having a big